Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host Rob Gauthier. I'm here today to tell all of you guys happy Wednesday on this beautiful Wednesday. I'm here every Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Now, all of you guys know the show will be a little different this week. As we know, our good friend George is not going to be here with us. His work took him outside. He does send us love with all of you guys and wants to tell any of you that if any of you need him or wish to connect to him, you can always go look up on his Facebook page. There is still the Enlightenment Evolution Hour like page. It changed its name, obviously, because it no longer is the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. It changed to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. And also, the Friends of the Rob and George Show open group is still there. You can find him in that group. You can find him by typing his name. But he does send his love and regards to all of you. So I want to put that up front. Now, this show is a show that is given out to anyone who cares to listen, whether it be from phone or internet for free, but does come at a cost to myself. And this cost is very small, but it is very, very wonderful to share this information. And a lot of people enjoy that. They enjoy the energy of the show. They also enjoy connecting to listening. So if you share your own love and excitement in this specific show, you can always feel free to donate. And you can donate by going to Treb Channeling and go to the donate key, or you can always donate to trebchanneling@gmail.com through PayPal. Either one of those are valid ways to donate. Now, today we have some very, very, very big announcements that I'm going to be making. But before I get to those, I want to go over what we're going to be doing today. Last week, we had a very great show. George was on fire. The information that came through him was brilliant, and he shared a lot of that. But a lot of the insights that both myself and George had from last week's show came from the previous week's show. This is where we had Helane as a special guest. She's an intuitive psychic. She took all the calls and did readings for everyone. Well, off air, I was fortunate enough to sit down with her and to be able to have my own reading. And tonight, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take the clips of that reading and share that with you guys, and then I'm going to be breaking that down. Now, next week, I am going to have a Treb Channeling event. Normally, this is the first Wednesday of the month. This would normally be a Treb Channeling event. So I do want to tell all of you guys that I am super excited about that. I'm glad that you guys are. But because of the switchover, it was a little bit rough. It was a little bit rough to get everything in line and everything in that nature. So it's being taken care of, and next week we will have the Treb Channeling event as planned, a 2-hour Treb Channeling. All of you guys can call in. All of you guys get questions. The week after that is going to be very, very exciting too. And this is going to be where Brad Johnson is here. Now, I believe the date will be the 19th of March. Brad Johnson will be a special guest on the show. He'll be channeling Adronis and taking your questions live on air. Also, we'll make sure to extend that show. Every time we have a guest, every time we have a channeler guest especially, or a guest like Helane Lipson, who takes questions, that usually is extended to a 2-hour just in case it goes over. Helane only intended to be here for an hour and a half when she was here 2 weeks. But she ended up staying on for the whole 2 hours, and it was wonderful. A lot of people got great calls. A lot of people got great input and great insight. So now we're going to talk about the big announcement. I have a new concept and new idea that's going to be happening. Now, all of you guys have been used to listening to the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour, and now it's changed to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. It's not that we lost George, because George is still here with us in heart and in spirit and all the energy of the concepts that went through. But what was one of George's and mine's ideas was to make a network. And this idea carried over. And this week is a good week to start this. What we're going to be doing here at the Enlightenment Evolution Hour from this point forward is we are going to make a network. We are going to make it so where every evening you guys will have a choice of shows to listen to that are aligned with the same type of information, the same type of energy. Now, this will be a separate host each night, individually having their own show under the Enlightenment Evolution Hour network. The very first show will obviously be myself as the Enlightenment Evolution Hour on Wednesdays. We also have Daniel Scranton. Daniel Scranton, all of you guys know him. He's a great guest, great friend of the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, been on many times. He will be having his own show. Now, he says that he'll be having a lot of guest show relations, and he will be having a lot of channeling connections in his show, so it's going to be very exciting. I will be getting more details to you guys with that next week, but all of you guys who enjoy Daniel Scranton's work, keep an eye on his Facebook page. He will be making that announcement, but Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, that's 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he will be doing his very first show on the Enlightenment Evolution Network. And this is going to be so exciting. Also, I just got off the phone with another friend of mine. This is a dear friend of mine, Philip Malaco. And Philip is a wonderful, wonderful person. He's got tons of videos on YouTube. He is a very cerebral person. He breaks down channeling just like George does. He's very cerebral, very deep, very great. He's got tons of great information. He will be having his own show. Now, his won't be on next week. It'll take him a couple weeks to get things around. This was sprung on him very quickly. He's dealing with some things in his own life that he's got to get set up. But we imagine to see him on the Enlightenment Evolution Network very soon, within the month. There's also a few other people that I put out the request to, and a couple people I haven't spoken to yet about doing their own show. So what the intention will be is that every day of the week, Sunday through Monday, every day of the week, we will be having someone to do on the show. Now, I want to talk to all of you guys about the network and get some ideas from you guys. So if any one of you guys want to get a hold of me, you let me know on Facebook. You type in Rob Gauthier, and you can see anytime that you want. Just send me a message what you guys think about this, and let me know what you guys think about the network, the things that you might enjoy. Each show will be individually ran, and each show will be individually done, but we will have a lot of networking together, a lot of communication together, and it will be similar content. It'll be very enlightening for those who like to learn, for those who like to get in touch with their hearts and their own selves. This is the definite network to do it. Now, before we go on, let's go on. Let's first go on. The very first thing we're going to talk about is Helane Lipson's reading with myself. This was wonderful. It was beautiful. Everything she said was dead on accurate. All of you guys know, the ones who called in from the show always knew how great Helane did. She talked to individually each one of you guys, connected heart to heart, and she made beautiful, profound readings that touched a lot of people. A lot of people talked to me and said that they have been talking to her afterwards, and they've connected to her and done readings afterwards, and all those went really great. And that's what I wanted to focus on tonight, was sharing my experience with you guys, with Helane. So what I'm going to do, before I get into that, let's take a caller. I see Risha's been on the line for a minute, and I have intuition that she has something important to say. How you doing, Risha?
Hi, Rob. Well, I'm just excited for the new energy here with your new show. Everything new is happening. I just wanted to tell you I'm excited about it all.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. The network concept, that whole thing about having several days of shows to line up, each one being up to 2 hours, I think that's a very great idea. There's a lot of people who are interested in more expansion in themselves, and I think this kind of gives them the opportunity to do that. I know that you yourself have been a longtime listener to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, and I know that hearing shows and listening to things of this nature is really expansive. What do you feel that you'd be able to find some interest and some use into more shows that are similar to this, that have concepts of self-empowerment, extraterrestrial connection, and all of those things in between?
I do, and tonight I'm really think this show about listening to, I'm really grateful that you're going to share your reading that Helene had with you, because I think there's going to be something in there that's even going to spark more ideas. As it feels like a really good way to start. I'm really excited to hear what she had to say to you. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, Risha, and that's what I wanted to come back in and jump on with you too. I know that you enjoy the clips, so what I'm going to do is start playing these clips, and we'll get a chance for everyone to listen. We'll start breaking them down from there, and you'll be the first one back on with me, Risha.
Awesome. I think it'll be really good to create with you.
All right. Well, beautiful. Thanks so much, Risha. All right. So what we're going to do is play the first clip this evening, and this is Helane Lipson's session, and this happened the day after her show. And her show was actually the week before the 26th, so that was the 19th. This was done the day after, so on the 20th of last month. So I'd like you guys to listen to this clip, and we'll break it down from there.
Okay, so I opened Rob's chart up first, which is January 4th, 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look. Okay. So, you do have a world mission, I mean, obviously, and you know this as well. And it's perfect, you're the kind of person that can see all the bigger tasks also. And you're going to end up lining up other people to take care of the details and get things together this way. It's funny because this child that you have is deeply karmically connected to you. This child is karmically connected and extremely old spirit. It didn't even matter which wife or woman you're going to have this child, but that child was going to come through you for a part of a greater lesson. I do want to say this. You're Capricorn, but you're more feisty than the typical Capricorn. You will speak up. You do speak your mind. You do say, what? You're not going to. You don't hold back. There's very strong ups and downs. I said before, seemed like there were recurring themes in the readings because each of the people that were callers had messages for all three of us, you, me, and George. And people were similar. And in this particular instance, there's some similarities between you, Rob, and some of the callers of last night's show. Somebody who actually was working in this life. You're so receptive. You're like a healer. You're like an empath. And you take in the energies of other people. And then if you don't completely let go of these things, because you're extremely compassionate and you heal on many levels when you're talking to people, sometimes you don't rid yourself of their energy. And you, too, wake up in the morning, like almost sometimes either anxious or sometimes depressed without any logical precipitant. And that's the last piece. This is the last piece where you're working on that. There was also a situation in your life, Rob, with the karmic mother. You made a decision, or you probably got this information that the mother you had some other dealings. And you'd have this over sense of responsibility, like you were responsible for everything. Carry the weight of the world and couldn't possibly meet other people's expectations. And that this old archetype or this old story of disappointing and disappointed is got to be dissipated. It is dissipating. You're not a disappointment. You're a divine being. That was the opinions of other people. So but it's ongoing. Like you're trying, you just can't seem. This is all part of a play that you're acting out. You do work really well and respect the boundaries of other people, I must say. You have a great placement for talent. You're extremely charismatic. That we know anyway. But this is built in. You're supposed to attract a lot of people. you know, whether Treb was asleep or or you hadn't come, even before you channeled Treb or had this ability to channel Treb, you're still activated with a full set of codes. You're actually activating people, and you're awake everywhere you're going, even when you're in a supermarket, every spot you're going. And so it's your job really to keep shining that light, regardless. You make a lot of excuses for people, meaning like also, you know, not everybody's behavior is okay, and it's okay for you to walk away from certain people. You don't need to make excuses for certain people. No matter what, you're always going to require a good deal of space in love. You are. Because you do have a world mission, as I mentioned earlier, and you're very career-oriented. You'll work as hard as it takes. You'll do whatever you need to do, you know.
All right, so that was the very first clip. Now, she covered a lot in here. So let's start from the top of the list. She talked about this world mission that I'm on, trying to connect to the world. That's obvious through the work that I do. The work with Treb has taken me all over the world. It's helped me connect. I've actually, when I thought about it, about a year and a half into my channeling work, I had realized that I had connected to at least one person on every continent of the world besides Antarctica. Well, who lives in Antarctica? Scientists and extreme sports people, not necessarily the top spirituality demographic in some ways, but in other ways it's interesting because I always get the mix of people. I've had a person who studied as a professor, I can't remember if it was biology or biology and physics mixed together. Whatever it was, he was a student, or not a student teacher, but under professor, a professor's assistant at a very large college, and I won't say what it is. I don't know if he's still working there or what department, but he was very, very great. He was one of the very first people that connected with Treb and loved it. So it's amazing that this has taken me on a path to meet so many people, and it's amazing how many people and what kind of people and how awesome the people are that I deal with on a consistent basis. Many people come to me and they say, hey, I just don't have that type of connection. I can't find people who have the same belief systems as us. But for me, I'm fortunate. People come to me who are having the same belief systems. And that's one thing that I think is very important, too. For a lot of people out there who feel kind of alone in your beliefs, there's tons of communities on Facebook for people who are spiritual or light workers or star seeds or metaphysical heads, whatever you want to label them. There's tons of people out there who have these same belief systems. If any of you are ever interested in that, contact me on Facebook. I'll put you out in the network. I found a very wonderful lady from Sweden who had just moved to Sweden. She was from out of country. She was from, I believe, South Africa, and moved up there, and she felt alone, and I was able to connect her to a few people, and it makes it easier when you have people to talk about the spiritual information with. Like I said, I've been very fortunate to do that, but it's very difficult to have a belief system and no one to share your excitement with. So that was the world mission part. She also talks about the karmic connection to my first child. Well, this is very important. My first child is my only son, my only child at this point, and he is karmically connected to me. He is very deeply connected to me. Our souls resonate at a very high level. We have deep synchronistic past lives together, as well as, I'm positive, probable future incarnations. So this is a very important thing that she was dead on accurate about. Now, she also says I'm a feisty Capricorn, not like many other Capricorns, but I'm very feisty. I tell people what I think. And this can be true. I also can have a diplomatic point of view with this too. I always try to accept other people's beliefs, but when they don't show me the same type of respect, it's very easy for me to speak out on it. I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm rude or I know I won't say that I'm rude or belligerent by any means. I'm just very boisterous when it comes to my belief systems and when it comes to the things I'm passionate about. So she nailed that one on the head. healer and empath. Now, this is something empathic I've always known. There's actually my mom. She doesn't have the same beliefs as I do. She's a Christian belief very intensely, but she's always had this gift. Ever since I was a child, I remember that she could meet someone one time, and within the first 5 minutes of knowing them, even if they didn't say but 10 words, she could tell a lot about them. She was very empathic in the way that she would pick up energy from people, too. If someone with a bad day was coming across, then she would have that same bad day. So I got that gift from her, too. Energetically, I know I was born with that because I chose to be. But it's neat to see how the family genes work in that part, too. Now, what is empathicness? Empathicness is taking on the energy of others. This is very, very common. For me, sometimes, she said, sometimes I'll wake up or I'll be in a situation and I don't know why I'm upset or why. And this is true, but it's not as true as it was 2 years ago. And then it wasn't as true as it was 5 years ago. I always took on a lot of other people's energies. The more I integrate myself with Treb, the more I integrate myself with my deep inside, my higher self, the less that happens. So very accurate reading with Helane, very beautiful work. She also mentioned that I'm working on removing that part where I take on other people's energy. And also the next part she talks about is feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, taking on responsibilities for other people. And this is dead on too. And I have been working on removing both of those things from myself. And I've been working at a very quick pace. Whenever someone would become frustrated or angry with me, or whenever someone would be mad or upset with me, or when someone would just be mad in general, I took on a lot of that. And now I'm able to say, hey, those are your feelings. They're separate than mine. We both can have our own experiences, and there doesn't have to be any bad energy or bad feelings or bad creations there. We can independently work on creating our own things, and I don't have to take that energy on. And that's been something that's been very, very strong in my life. November. It's funny because when I was on Helane's show, when she had me on her Helane Lipson's show, it was, Embracing What Is Real, I'm sorry. That was in November, and that was during the time where most of my energetic changes really started kicking in gear. I had made tons of progress from where I was 7 years before that till then. It was huge, but in the last 6 months, I probably made as much changes, if not more, than I did before then. So it's a cosmic and continuous evolution. It's a huge thing. And for me, those problems that I had with taking on other people's energy, taking on other people's feelings, and taking on other people's as a sense of responsibility, I've been working on removing that. And she hit those all dead on the money. Feeling as if I'm a disappointment. Now, this is a rough one for me to talk about, often gets me emotional. This is something that I have had in my adult life for a little bit. And there's always some times where I might feel as if whatever I'm doing for others, my passion and my love that I want to share with the world, or whether it's one person in a relationship, or whether it's energetically, whatever the case is, I always feel as if I could do more. I always feel like I should do more. So sometimes I bog myself down with responsibilities in my own mind that really don't exist. It's not my place to do any of those things, and it's something I've been working very diligently on to get that part, because I know that it's not my fault. I know that it's not my issue. And when I don't meet my own expectations, I project that onto others. When I can't meet my own expectations with this bogged down workloads that I receive, I start projecting that. I feel as if I'm a disappointment, not just to myself, but to other people. And it's very, very harmful energetically. It can be very bad. And like I said, that's something that I've worked on for a long time, and I remove a lot of that from myself. A lot of those types of things have been very difficult to deal with, and this last 6 months, that's been one very, very important thing that I've also been working on. Now, the next thing that Helane talks about is activating people. Now, this is brilliant. I love this. I really didn't even know this until she said it. When she said this, it made me examine. I said, okay, maybe I'm activating people now. Maybe the way I talk to people, the way I share my heart with people, the way I embrace people and love them and just give all of my heart. Because most people who meet me, that's what they say. You're a huge heart energy. You're just a gigantic walking heart chakra. And that's true. I do love people very deeply, very dearly, very extremely. And I always can see how that itself can activate people. I mean, it's very clear that love is a huge part of activating people around you. But what I didn't always see is that even before I started connecting to Treb, I was still activating people. And it took me a minute to see this. Now, when I'm a young teenager, I am one of those kids who just get in trouble all the time, into everything. And I realized there was always a group of kids following me around. I was the bad kid. I was the bad influence kid. Don't hang out with Rob Gauthier. He'll get you in trouble. But every time I would do that, I would get these people coming with me, creating the same problems that I was creating too. So I was activating those people into their dark side. And although many people might not say that, well, that's not very good, you activated people in negative, I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I was able to be a catalyst for the experience that I needed, because I've learned more about myself in my life in my dark times than I've learned in my light times. I just learned more connection and more resonance in my lifetime than I did before. Than my life lessons and how not to live was what the dark taught me. And there was much more of my life that was dark than there was light. This light thing is only a 7-8 year experience. Everything before that had shades of dark inside of it. And that's the thing. A lot of people have that judgment. What's dark? What's light? Dark's bad. Light's good. That's not the case. When you listen to Treb talk about the difference between type 1 and type 2, he never says that they're negative or positive. He'll use those terms to explain to people who don't know what type 1 or 2 is, because that's the way humans normally perceive it. But we all know duality is a beautiful thing. Duality is something that we perceive, but it's not really there. We all come from source. We all have perfect energy. We are all flawless parts of God. And in that, there can't be anything bad. So I was proud to have given that lesson to those people who followed me when I was a kid, even into my my young adult years, still disconnected, still rough around the edges. I still activated everyone around me. And I'm very happy. I'm happy to be that catalyst for other people's experiences that they needed. Being a catalyst of any sort can be very wonderful. And everyone who I interacted with was a catalyst for myself as well. And I think that beautiful interactions that we share with people is what really, really is important. So that was the first clip. I kind of broke it down in the way I could, in a way that was fitting for myself. So I'm going to pull out Risha and take your call real quick. What would you like to add about that specific breakdown there, Risha?
Well, the first part of it really, I thought was really interesting when you talked about the part of your job or part of the way you operate is getting people with the same belief systems together, how important that is. You know, that how we need support with our belief systems, that's more or less it, and that's part of your role. And I love that, you know, when you said you got someone from South Africa in another place with people that could be supportive with the same beliefs. But what I wanted to say about it is, while you said that, one of the things you also said is that, well, but people come to me, and how fortunate you are that people come to you that are searching or looking or ready for the same belief systems. And I thought to myself, the best thing about that I totally love is that you have a belief system that those kind of people come to you. You don't have a belief system that it's tough and that it's hard. You got what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You're dead on accurate with that. And, you know, I always accounted that because of the work I do. But in all honesty, we're all capable of doing just exactly that. It's the belief, isn't it?
Yes. We can switch it around and make the belief that we want.
Oh, I love that, Risha. And thank you for that insight, too. Now, one of the things, too, that I talked about is talking about how sometimes people take on other people's energy. And I know that is something that's very, very large in people who are energetically sensitive or empathic. And I know yourself and your husband do have a very great sense for energy and percepting energy of others. Do you have that issue as well?
Oh, yes, I did. I've always had that, and didn't always know about it. And I don't know if I think I told you that I'm a Vietnam veteran. And when I was in the military, the first time I noticed it was before I went to Vietnam, and I was sitting with a friend in a restaurant, and across the restaurant, there weren't many people there, but there was a young couple, and it looked, just if you just look at him, obviously he was in uniform and she was crying, and it looked like it was, like he was going to be going, and that feeling of that separation, I guess it would be, just and sadness just came over me so strongly, and I said, wait a minute, this isn't me. I didn't have my orders to go anywhere, And so that was the very first time I really recognized that something was going on. And then it was many years before I started to use that energy in a good way. And it can be in a good way, but to be really honest about it, mostly I haven't yet really overcome the feeling that people into me. You know what I mean? And
that people what into you? I'm sorry, the part spaced out.
Yeah, people's energy kind of leaks into me as opposed to me having control of it. Yeah,
absolutely. That's kind of been the biggest issue that I've dealt with too, being empathic, is I take on a lot of people's energy without control of that, and sometimes that's very, very difficult to handle and deal with. Absolutely.
But I think once I get the idea, okay, this isn't me, this isn't this particular identity, it's obviously me in a larger sense, but it isn't particularly my 3D entity, then I can kind of, now my thing is I send it love, but it's always a matter of going into my heart, being aware of what's happening, being present to what's happening, and sending love, first to myself and then to the entity that seems that I'm getting that reflection from.
Well, sure. You got to do yourself first, that love to yourself first, because you have to be able to give love to others, and that's not just in one motion. That's basic life. You've got to reflect that love back to that person only when you have it in yourself. If you reflect something that's less than love to someone else, then you'll get back that negative reaction that comes with non-full love. So absolutely. And thank you, Risha, too, for sharing that. I'm going to take a couple other callers, and then we'll play the next clip. And if you'd like to talk about the next clip after that, we'll get right back to you.
Okay, Rob, thanks.
Hey, thank you, Risha. All right, we've got our friend caller from Skype, and I believe it's Roy. Is this Roy?
Yeah, hi, Rob.
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm doing fine. It's great. Great to listen to you. Yeah, it's a great breakdown of but I don't have anything to share. I was just listening into my Skype.
All right, absolutely, bud. Well, if you'd like to share anything too, give me that chat on Skype, and I'll let you back in on the conversation. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man.
All right. I got another caller from the 816 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
Oh, hey guys. I was actually calling just to listen in.
Oh, all right. Well, if you'd like me to put you back on mute, we'll go ahead and start her back up again.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks, bud. All right. So now I'm going to go to the second clip and kind of break this down as we go, too. Here we go.
You have a specific question for me now? I'm pretty grounded to this chart, and I would say that I have one more comment. This is you're moving on. Things start to expand for you this summer. Uranus sextile Venus is a beautiful thing. This is your summer. You're going to work through the last of this. This is the end of this era where you're facing the shadow. You're going to find that things really open up for you in the spring. This is the last of these fundamental changes. I mean, because I'm feeling like, I'm just feeling the love the beginning of June 2014. And this is, like we said in making predictions, I mean, we feel like this is what you've created or what you're pulling into the physical plane. But, of course, it's going to be your choice if you're going to call this in and accept it and be ready to receive. Because that's the last piece of it is being ready to receive. And accept that you deserve love, that it's your birthright to have abundance and love and enough time and enough energy. So this is a willingness to receive that comes up as well. Okay, I asked you before if you had any questions.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you. Everything you got was very, very spot on. I want to know, in the ways of relationships, significant relationships in my own life and in my own way, I want to see if there's any projections of the next year that kind of shows me anything in relationships, how I'll interact in relationships, and the success rate of relationships, any dynamics of relationships in general in the next year I'd love to hear about.
Yeah. Well, you probably feel, you probably can sense this too, that you're inviting something in. And so, and again, when we say facing the shadow, the last of these old pieces are being cleaned up.
Yes.
And, you can't bring in the new living room furniture if the old living room furniture is in the house. And it's very hard. So a space has to be created for that in some capacity. And so we're back to the same thing that we always were. We're ready to bring in the abundance and let it flow and receive it. Not because you need money, but because there are people that could be helped by your message and would resonate deeply with your teachings. And it's interesting to see a chart like this too, because you got great charisma and people skills, and be just a very charismatic talker. Stay with the ideas, and other people doing the details is a beautiful thing.
Other people doing the details. What did you mean by that part?
I mean that you have the idea of putting something together and then have a team of people that are actually making the arrangements. Because you're going to start with a conference, or there's going to be some kind of workshop or some kind of group that you'll pull together. And that would be in the summer. And you can't do this all. Because when you're doing the smaller details, things start getting chaotic. You need the systems away. Because you're so busy and focused on the bigger picture sometimes that you need somebody else to do the other details, where things just start overlapping, where you're a team player.
Absolutely, and that's beautiful. I see that too in myself, and the way things move forward. The more that I get into the bigger picture, and the more I try to build.
So you're in the process of growing a mastermind team around you. You talk about in the area of relationships. You have somebody in your sphere. You have a lot of other people that you know, but like I said, we have to. How do you bring in another couch in a living room that has no space for it? Where is the space for something new?
All right. Now that was the second clip. That was very, very deep and very intricate. So we'll start with the top. Now, first thing she says is that in this summer, in June, I will be expanding outward, that the work I do will be expanding outward, that I will begin to fully remove those shadow parts of myself. Now, It's funny that this timeline's mentioned with her. This timeline brings about something that I don't even think she was aware of. In July, well, first of all, let's talk about synchronicity that brought me to a man. Now, Kalina is a lady who's been working with me, doing tons of stuff for Treb Channeling, doing a bunch of stuff for the work for Treb's message to get out. She's been working with people. She's been doing public relations, person relations, communications, designing things, posters for events, posters for shows, everything. Great person, tons of skills. She's been helping me out with a bunch of things. And she leads me to the understanding that this man who used to do events, big events for Portal to Ascension named Neil Gar, would be doing an event. Or would, let's back that up, that he is a sound healer. I asked her if she knew anybody because she'd been out in the California community with so many people. And I said, what can you do to explain things to me here? Do you know anyone who could be a good guest for the show? And she said, this Neil Gar guy does sound. So I shot a letter to him. I said, hey, Neil, would you like to be a guest on the show? And little at that time, I didn't think he was still doing events because there was some events that he had done last year. But from what I had heard through the grapevine, he was done doing events for a while. But he says, yeah, I'd love to be a guest on your show. Well, a couple weeks later, he contacts me and says, hey, I'm doing a big event. Would you like to be on it? And I said, sure, that would be great. I'd love to check that out. I'd love to hear it. So what happens is he writes me this letter. I agree to do it. And about a month and a half later on Facebook, here comes my name on this upcoming event in July. And when I read through the laundry list of presenters there is my good friend Brad Johnson, a guy who you guys know well from the show, a person who's definitely been out there before. But right next to my name and Brad's name is Daryl Anka's name. And for those of you who know about channeling, I'm sure you know that Daryl Anka is the channeler of the entity named Bashar. That's a big thing. He's a very well-known channeler. So to be in the same event with him was amazing. I did not expect that when I first agreed to the event, but synchronicities led to that. So there's a lot of energy that opens up in the summer. It's funny that Treb talked about at the very first show on the Enlightenment Evolution, he was asked about this year upcoming, and he said in the summer things open up wide. In the second or third week of February, things start getting one way. And the synchronicities have led all the way up to this. Also said that there will be opportunities, expansion, people around you, coming around you. Well, it wasn't because of this reading that I decided to go ahead with the network. It was just timing. It felt right. And now this network is going to be opening up. So bam, those two things. So it was beautiful that she caught on to that. Now, loving and receiving, to be able to do that very easily, and that's a part of my relationships in general. I've had a lot of great relationships come into my life lately. I've been able to reflect back to other people the things that I have inside me finally. And the more I let go of my resistance, the more I get into connecting with people, the better it gets, and the more I see back to me. Relationships in general have been going very great in my life, a lot of close things, and we talked about that, and everything she said was right on. She also said shadow work will be clearing up, that a lot of those things will end up being brought to me and very easily done, and those types of things are going exactly as they should be. Now, when she said, I like that little term she used, cleaning out the energy, or cleaning out the furniture. You have to clean out the furniture before you bring new furniture in. That's beautiful. That really is a representation of all of ourselves in the way that we introduce new energy with ourselves before we remove old furniture. That old energy's got to be removed for new energy to come in. We can't live in a life that's less resistant when we're still holding on to resistant concepts, resistant energy, resistant beliefs, and resistant relationships. So that cleaning out the furniture thing that she said, was perfect. It was dead on, accurate, and I loved it. Now, resonating with others. The more I let go of these shadow selves, the more I begin to resonate with others. Well, I've noticed that. And I found the trick to this isn't resonating with others. It's a resonance in yourself. When you resonate with yourself, when you dig into your own self and you connect to that heart center, when you begin to live in your own excitement, when you begin to live in your own abundance, that's when other people start enjoying that with you. That's when they co-create that experience with you. So I think that that's a very interesting concept. Now, the other idea that she said is she could tell within the energy that I've got great people skills. Stay with the ideas and let others do the detail. I didn't know what she had meant by that, but when she starts talking about letting others do the details, things like that, the lady who I mentioned, Kalina, who's been helping me so much, has basically taken care of all the smaller details. So all I've been able to do lately is channel, connect, do the radio show, and I've been able to start connecting to other people. And when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to talk to people about events and shows and all these lighter details that I normally had to deal with, those were very difficult for me. I'm not, for those of you who have interacted with me, for those of you who listen to the show, I am not even close to the most organized person in the world. There is no such thing as organization when it comes to me. I am the most in-the-moment person that you can ever meet. So to have someone assist me in such a great way with those things has been beautiful. That does help me focus in on. So everything that she's been saying has already started coming to fruition or is lining up to come to fruition at this time. And I think that it's very, very, very beautiful that in this year is going to be a huge year for myself as well as for all of you. All of these things are definitely something that all of us need to pay attention to. This energy that comes in this year is very potent. It's very powerful. It cleans out your furniture for you. It says, listen, we understand that you're here. We understand that you have many filters with the way you've grown up, the things that you latch onto, whatever the case is, and it makes you clean out your old furniture to get new furniture in. And I am so, so excited about that idea. I'm so excited that there is a growth that's happening with everyone. And I'm talking to tons of people. Everyone I know is going through a huge change right now. Some perceive it as negative, some perceive it as positive, but we know the routine with that. We know that that's only a perception. We know that our truth is only centered in the energy that we allow it to be, and that's the way we will always perceive it. And once we can change that belief that allows us to perceive things in a certain light, that's when we really start moving. That's when we say, hey, this isn't bad. The divorce that I'm going through isn't that bad. The fight that I got in with my neighbor is not really that bad. The car accident I had is not really that bad. All things are becoming better because of those things. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the thing that we should all hang on to. Now, I'm going to play this last clip. This is the last clip I've got of the reading, and then I'm going to start taking callers. I know there's a few of you who have been waiting patiently, so I'm going to go ahead and do this, and we'll get going on breaking this last part down.
And it is returned. That feeling is returned, but the way that your life is configured right now, you need to create the space by getting rid of all the last of these shadow parts. And the expectation that there's some piece in your cellular memory that people would be disappointed in you after they got to know you. And we need to clear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's nothing disappointing. You're a divine being. It was what you decided to play out, that you would be a disappointment to others and that you would still have to be of service to the Creator, because you're not responsible for other people and their feelings. You're responsible for taking the high road, though, and being the best person you could be and live your world mission.
My question to you would be, through doing this last process of cleaning out these feelings and all of the shadow parts that I have remaining, is it effective to help with those who love me, those who are dear to me? I have a few very close people, George, one of them, a couple other people who really help me reflect back to myself those great parts. Is is it a good idea to help bounce that off those other people, or is it something I need to take
I'd
in
say
my own?
you'd have to just believe it and get rid of that old sense of responsibility, and that, again, that you don't want to be a disappointment to somebody, and clear that off. Like I said, you're half adventurous and half not trusting. You're cautious and adventurous all at once. And sometimes, like, something comes over you, and then you literally slow everything down. You're actually doing it. You're slowing it down.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
But, yeah, I could feel it. It's mutual, that love or that. And so, and this is something new because it's the beginning of something that's unconditional. Where somebody just likes you as you are, whatever the circumstances, whatever story you tell them. And so, that's nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, so that's the last piece. So that's my answer about that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That's beautiful.
The relationship part looks good because something is blossoming at the end of the spring, the beginning of the summer.
Beautiful. That is what I am very, very happy to hear. Thank you for that.
It starts with your own business, because you can't use that person to get lost and carried away from the bigger picture and what you need to create. But that they would help you. They'll work with you.
And
the person that's on your team.
Sure. And
so
the
you could really co-create.
When I exchange that, sometimes I do. Sometimes relationships in all forms, especially those that are very close to me and very deep, can sometimes feel like my own emotions, my own happiness can be dependent on the way that those things are going. And I'm trying to flush that out now, and I'm getting better at it each day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you are a love bug. That's sweet.
Well, thank you, Helane. That's perfect, and you reaffirmed a lot of things that I've already felt, and you answered the puzzles of the things that I've been searching on and really looking deeply into.
Because they're going to have to help you to write this book or put together this manuscript. So you work hand in hand with somebody in channeling and getting something down, and somebody transcribing this. And this actual, it's a tangible physical piece that you would end up coming out with as well. That's in the works.
And the acceptance of that to the people who need that, will that be dependent on the energy I put into it also? If I'm in a good place while I do that, then obviously
it would just flow, and if you can stay grounded and not invite all this chaos and all these other dramas into your world, because you're still, to some extent, they say that you are ridding yourself of these shadows and making fundamental changes, and that is that you don't invite the drama. And you know, when there's an emotional charge in you, where there still is, you know that part of you hasn't been cleared. This is the end of an era for you.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
So it's just like, you're cleaning up it's like, it's just like now cleaning up the last pieces. Things are looking nice for you. Stay with it. You're on the right track.
Thank you.
Feel it.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's beautiful. It's about as beautiful as you can get. First off, we have the return, the connection that I have in my own self, the looking in on myself, which is beautifully put. She started talking again about those expectations. Drop those expectations. Drop the beliefs about you being a disappointment for anyone. And in 30 seconds in, I could hear myself getting choked up there at the recording. I remember that was very profound for me. It was very deep, and I didn't even realize that I was still doing it to some extent until she had said that, and that reconfirmed a lot of things for me. To stop being responsible for other people. What she did say I was responsible for is taking the high road, to stop interacting with negative energies in any sorts, and quit worrying about those things, the expectations about disappointments or how I'm perceived, and just to keep going. Now, I can't read what I wrote here, but all right, let's go to the cautious and adventurous part. That's lovely, because I never really seen myself as both of those things at once. I've always thought I was very adventurous by nature. I remember when I was younger, I got into so many things. I was 17 with my dad, and I was going across the country, going from New York City to Ogden, Utah, and we'd go out to these places to work all the time, going around the country. And I'd jump into any situation I could that seemed to be different or fun. So I always see myself as adventurous. But then I started thinking about the cautious side. And there are a lot of things that I step into with only dipping my toe. I don't jump in head first. So both of those energies are there and balanced out. Sometimes when I get into that energetic thing, when I start getting cautious, she said I slow things down myself. Now, slowing it down myself is something that I've had to deal with. Sometimes things seem to drag on forever, and those are the moments that I'm feeling more disconnected, or feeling more judged, or feeling more as if I am not helping people enough, like I'm not doing all I can do to help other people. And this can be very, very rough, even for someone who I'm consistently upset with, or who is doing things to me that's very negative, very hurtful. I still worry about that person, their mindset, their well-being, even if it's for mutual things. Take for example, let's say that if me and my sister were arguing about something, and the way we would go back and forth with that, I would always mutually, I love her daughter, I love her son, so I would always worry about how our interactions would cause harm to them, or something, something like that. That's the feeling that I would get. So sometimes when those things happen, I slow things down a lot in my own mind and my own life. I tend to, and it feels like it drags on forever. A week feels like a month sometimes when I get into those mindsets. But again, I've noticed that in the last 6 months, those are just disappearing. And I love that whole new era. She said it's the end of one era, a beginning of a new era. And I love that, because I have been so deeply looking into myself for the last 7 years. And I always felt like there was more that could be done. And this is what's beautiful about the energy. Like I said, it makes you do this. Relationships blossoming. It's been a beautiful thing. There's people that are all around me who are very connected and close to me. And the more I connect to them, the more my heart sinks in with them. And there are many things that I find great about all of these relationships. One relationship specifically has helped me see things that I was doing to myself that I didn't realize. Like when I would begin to not love myself in an appropriate measure, if I wasn't loving myself in a condition, I can be reminded by the reflections. So it's really very, very helpful to see all of these things line up. And when she said I was a love bug, I died laughing, because she was so correct. It was so right. And this is why I love Helane. Helane also, she'll be going on vacation to Hawaii. So anyone who's listening who knows Helane on Facebook, I think she'll either packing or leaving tonight. So she always says that you can drop in and say hi to her on Facebook. But we wish her the best. And she is listening to the show, so I want to say hi to her too. And thank you, Helane, for making this possible tonight. Tangible physical peace. That's going to be in the person who I'm working with and my relationship and connection to them. To be able to do that. Right now, Kalina's working with me. She's one of the greatest people you could ever meet. She's got the hugest heart. Me and her connect on a very high level, a very deep level. She's very resonant in understanding these things. So I imagine that herself, as well as many other people that will join the team for Treb Channeling to help expand the messages, we'll be able to do so many things. She's so talented in so many of the things she does that it's very, very wonderful to know that I have someone who's like that, who can actually add to the Treb Channeling experience with all the intricate knowledge and schooling and things that she has. So it's beautiful. That's the tangible, physical piece. I would imagine a book or something that can actually be taken for people. I've been interested in books. For those of you who know about my history, I've got 2 books that were written. 1 chapter to 1 book was started. A 3rd book is done but not published yet. That should be coming anytime soon. And I'm very interested in writing a book. And one of the books I thought I wanted to share is my life story with people, because there's so much things that can be so useful to people just in knowing the story itself. There's a lot of trauma and depression and disconnection and so many things that I went through in my younger life. And to be able to come out of it in the nature that I did, it is an amazing story. Every time I tell someone, every time I share the story with it, it's very emotional. It makes me cry. It makes them cry. It's a very amazing story. From where I was 10 years ago to where I am now, it's just black and white. It's so beautiful. So I think that that's one of the things I want to share, along with a lot of stuff, a lot of things that Treb's taught me, a lot of his work himself. So that's the tangible, physical piece. Acceptance of people and resonance with them. People I'm meeting, like I said, all over the place. It's just coming in. And those are the basic things that we talked about. Now, I really want to start taking callers now. I see that 352 area code. So I hope that this is Savita. I believe it is. Are you there, sister?
Yeah, this is me. I'm listening to you.
Oh, would you like to chat a little bit about things you were listening to tonight?
No, it's just, no.
All right, well, I always love when you call in and chat, and if you change your mind too, just by any means let me know, and I'll jump you back in the line. Now, I do apologize to you, sister, as well as to everyone else, that sometimes Blog Talk Radio does put people in my queue, even though they're not aware that they're in my queue. So it's if I do answer and you don't want to talk, you could do just like Sister Savita did, and just say, nope, today I'm listening. And that's perfectly fine and acceptable. All right, we've got an 862 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
My name is Jackie. Hello.
Hey, Jackie, how are you doing?
One day at a time. Just listening to the show.
Good. Good.
I came on late, so I wasn't sure exactly where you started with the subject matter.
What we're talking about this evening is a wonderful, gifted lady. Her name's Helane Lipson. She is a psychic intuitive as well as a radio host in 5D radio. She also does another radio show called Insights by Helane, and she's a very wonderful person. And she did a personal session for me as she was a guest a couple weeks ago, and I was just breaking down some of the things that she had said about me, about my own personal reading, kind of sharing my experiences with everyone and kind of letting them know not just how accurate the reading was, but just how much resonance it had with me and some of the things that I had experienced.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did it resonate with you? Because sometimes you get them and there's just few parts of it that might resonate. So it's always still like a fractured picture or a puzzle with missing pieces.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're able to connect your dots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I did. I had tons of resonance. Everything she said was accurate, and everything that she said that I thought in the moment might not have been 100% accurate when I look back and reflected. It was things that I didn't see about myself because I kind of hid them from myself. We all tend to do that once in a while. So everything about it was 100% resonant and very great. But I do know what you mean. There are a lot of people out there who practice either psychic or give readings, and a lot of the time their own belief systems and filters get in the way of the reception and connection to people.
Right. So then the recipient is still kind of left in the dark then when that happens. So that adds to greater, I guess, I won't say confusion, but just adds to greater, voids.
Oh, yeah.
They need to know.
Well, absolutely. Have you ever had an experience like that where you went into either a psychic or someone who did a reading and it just did not resonate with you?
Yes, I've had it. And then there was some that was like right on target as well.
Oh, sure. And that's the mix.
My thing right now, I'm just trying to tap into what I'm feeling on the inside, what's coming to me from my own spiritual guides and making sense of it. I want to make sure I'm listening to the right voice and that the voice is accurate and not misleading.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
pretty much at a place where I'm going within and trying to deal with things from that level.
Absolutely, and I will tell you from my own experience, you're 100% right. There is no better guidance than our internal navigation system. Even when we're messed up, even when we're disconnected, our internal guidance system, our heart always tells us what's correct. I know that Treb, I'm a channeler. I'm not sure if you know that or not, but this entity that I channel when I connect with him, his name is Treb, and he has this very profound saying. And basically what he's saying is that if you follow your heart's connected directly to your higher self and soul. And your soul knows better than anyone for you. It knows better than the wisest or longest living entity in the universe because it is you. It's a part of you and it's what you need. So when you follow your heart, you'll never be led wrong. You'll never be led astray. And that is so beautiful.
What if your heart is in so many pieces?
And that's a legitimate concern, but usually when that happens, it's not really our heart that's in pieces. Our heart is always a place of love. It's our mind saying that it's broken. It's our mind having reasons for things that don't resonate from the heart. And I think that once we overcome our mind gets in the way of so many things. Like, for instance, when I see someone in public and they look over at me and they don't smile, if I'm standing next to someone, I could say, well, that person, is having a rough day. But this other person next to me can say, that person is mean mugging me. They're giving me all sorts of static. They don't like me. I'm dressed funny. It's all about perception. When our heart's broke, it's difficult. It's a very rough feeling. But all that is a disconnection of what we really are. Because inside of us, that soul aspect of us, we're all fully love. That's what we're made of. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and when that happens to us, all we can do is just take that in and understand why we're there. What is our beliefs that keep us in that feeling bad place, and just kind of try to attack it from that angle.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate tonight too.
I appreciate you taking a call. Are you doing any readings tonight?
No, we're not doing any readings tonight, but next week I will be channeling, and he will be taking questions. Treb will be taking questions for all people and any readings that you need. So if you join us next Wednesday, we're definitely having readings then. So feel free to join us, and any question you need will be taken care of.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
So I can continue to listen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just mute you, and I won't cut you off. Feel free to continue listening. Thank you for calling in tonight.
Thank you for calling.
All right. No problem. Have a good evening. All right. We also have another caller, and this is the 832 area code. Who do we have with us this evening? What's that? The 832 area code is. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hey, it's Chris.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I didn't know I was on there. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. No problem. All right, what did you want to share with us this evening?
Well, I was just kind of listening in, putting the baby to bed, and I guess I'm just kind of a new listener, so I'm just kind of queuing in on what's been going on as far as spirituality but anywho, I guess my question is, it relates to the higher dimensions and sexuality. What happens on that level?
Okay, well, sexuality is looked at slightly different in the higher densities. What Treb always talks about when he talks about sexual energy in higher densities, there are entities who still keep a sexual nature in the higher dimensional realms, in the higher density realms. And those usually have one of two ways to look at it. There are two separate types of entities in the higher dimensional realms. There's a type 1 entities, type 2. We label them as humans, negative and positive. So the positive entities are using this as a means to either expand their energy and expand their physical self to connect with another person, much like we do here if we truly love someone. It's an expansion to a procreate. That's another one. And in the type 2, it's usually built for a more self-centered concept. Now, that happens here a lot too in the sexual nature of humans. So some entities have progressed so far along physically that they don't need the sexual organs. They don't need the sexual reproductive mechanisms. They have different ways to do that. And a lot of the very high densities, the 6th densities and the higher 5th, don't. But they still have energy that's sexual in nature. It's an energy of not just excitement, but also connection to their heart. And in this energy, this is pretty much how they live all day long. If they're a type 1 entity, if they're a positive entity, if they're a loving and benevolent entity, they always connect from the heart in their excitement. That's how they live day to day. So it's very different, and it really depends on what entity, what race, what planet or what dimensional realm or what layer of existence they're in. All of those systems and all those different places have much different energies. But the human sexual experience is something that I really enjoy talking about. It's something that a lot of people are very shameful for or very disconnected from. They don't look in their own energy with resonance. There's a lot of shame that comes with not just sex itself, but sexuality itself, the feminine or masculine energies that each one of us carry. And that can bring shame to a lot of people. I'm not a man enough, or I'm not woman enough. You hear a lot of people talk about that when men become impotent or when women go into menopause. They talk about, I'm not man enough, I'm not woman enough. They're taking away from their own sexuality and the sex of themselves, the feminine, masculine side. So all of these things are very important and interesting concepts. When you're talking about the sexuality in the higher dimensional realms, is there a specific reason that question came to you? Is it something that you've heard or listened to that kind of resonated with you?
Well, I heard something just by searching the internet or YouTube, and it just was like, well, since we're eventually going to be, I guess, progressing that way, and so I think as far as for us, what do we have? What do we look for? I mean, what do we do as far as progressing our sexuality, or what? Is it going to be physical, or these other higher beings? Just like you answered about what they do, how they express themselves. So I guess that kind of led me down that road.
Sure, absolutely, and it's a great question too. The first thing that we have to understand is the progression of humanity in general is not as important as the progression in the individual. And what I mean by that is each one of us take our own pathways. When Treb connects to people, he gets a reading from people, he'll often say, what's my probable future incarnation going to be? And it's different for everybody. And all of these experiences are human. Just because they're not on Earth doesn't mean they're not human. It's a progression of linear time, and the way we experience time is so different from the way time really works. So we have all these probable futures. We have all these probable pathways to humanity. Some of them lead us to sexual nature. Some of them lead them to non-sexual. And some of them lead to type 2 or a regressive sexuality. And what helps us connect in the moment, in this time, in this life, right now, to those probable future lives, what connects us to our highest probability is the energy that we carry now. So what I always suggest to people when you're looking to future incarnations, whether it's about sexuality, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about any of those aspects, what we have to do is introduce ourselves in those things now. So if if the idea of sexuality and a higher density appeals to you, then come in touch with your sexual self now. Come in touch with the sexuality you have now. A lot of people on Earth use sexuality as an escape. They use it as a fulfilling part in their own life, or they'll use it as an enhancer to their experience. But what I always suggest to people who are open to the idea is try to connect the sexuality to your heart. Try to put love in with that sexuality. There is an aspect in which you don't have to love someone in the standard way of loving. I want to marry you, we'll stay married forever and have sex. That type of love's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a pure love for not just the person you're with. You have to have an appreciation for that person, whether it's your best friend, whether it's someone you spend a lot of time with. You have to have a genuine caring for that person and their experience in the sexuality. And you have to also have a love for the act of the sexuality. You have to have a love for every moment of the energy that's carried in with it. And I think that that's the greatest experience to help carry over to make your sexuality in the now progress into the one that you prefer in the future. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I sure do appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you were interested in looking at?
Not at this moment, but I feel that I think in time that I'll probably contact you on I guess more of a individual basis and go from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, feel free to. And for those of you who might be new listeners tonight, as I hear quite a few people who are new tonight, and I kind of see things that are happening with different numbers that I'm not used to. If you want to contact me, feel free to contact me on trebchanneling.com. This is the channeling experience that I do. I do offer 15-minute free introduction sessions for people who are interested in just getting an experience. So if you're definitely interested in getting a session, you can always go to trebchanneling.com. Also, if you just want to chat with me on Facebook, kind of talk to me about some ideas, you can always contact me. It's Rob Gauthier on Facebook. When you go there, you'll see the same face that you're watching on Blog Talk Tonight as it scrolls through. So feel free to pick me out of the crowd and chat with me. All right. Now we have a 443 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
You don't know yet.
Oh, how are you doing?
Okay. Ravika, you're getting better. You're getting better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're getting better there. Actually, I was quite interested to listen about your reading with Helane, and I was very impressed by the inner growth that George was making out of it, and I was quite intrigued to learn about your reading with her. I really wanted to give it a chance myself. I just didn't have the occasion yet, and I hope it's still available for me. But with it, when I was listening to you, I have learned that there was a lot of personal validation when it comes to your own personality and your path in life, and the way you were experiencing it. Like you said, I realized that I don't really get involved. I just touch it with my finger, but I'm not really getting involved. And that was very interesting for me, because I realized, I said, oh, that's the relativity of your inner experience comparing with the outside world. Like you think that you're so adventurous when you dip your finger, and when completely thinking that now you put your life in a danger, when actually comparing with the entire situation, you're just dipping your fingers. So hello, duh. Adventurous, the adventurous, Rob. So it was some kind of but I think, whatever I've learned from that is that it was some kind of attunement or some kind of I don't know, shaping the edge of a shape, so to say, like when when you're drawing, sometimes you erase the extra lines, just to shape it a little. So it seems to me like the reading that you have done with her was a lot of like clarifying into the shape or the inner shape of the inner personality, within you, that, just shedding light and, chasing some shades and, shadows out and, just refining the inner picture of of the way you see yourself, as a person. And I think it was, and I find it's really, really, how to say that, complimenting for yourself, as
absolutely.
Yes, as experience, and the way that you come up, from the reading is I think you got to the stage that you're willing to do for yourself from inside, from a real deep perspective of taking care of yourself from a more of a responsible, point of view, and less from just drifting into it because of because of outside, occasions, so to say, that you're just more into building up your own spine, with a more of a how to say that, more of a liberty of creation, of who do you want to be, how do you want to represent yourself, how do you want to walk in the world, and how do you want to see yourself, and how do you want others to see you. So I think it's a very educating experience, so to say. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The perceptions of yourself compared to others is the thing that we often either struggle with the most or enjoy the most to perceive in life. It is very interesting when you kind of hear someone else's view, and then you can step back and say, wow, that really is a way I never had a chance to look at it before.
Yeah, it's some kind of a mirroring kind of a game. And so I was really enjoying listening to that. Yeah. And when she said that you're a love bug, I first heard that expression, love bug. I'm also picking up on the expressions in English. So so I remember that you said that you were hugging the tree and nearly, dying out of happiness. I said to myself, oh, that's love bug.
That's a love bug, absolutely. And that's a beautiful thing. And Rivatel, I appreciate the call every week that you've called. It's been very great to connect to you, and I appreciate the call tonight. We've only got a couple more minutes, so I'm going to take this last caller.
Is it still possible to get a reading from her, or she just moved to another place?
Actually, she is available at insightsbyhelane.com.
Okay, I'll have to find a link for that. I just cannot.
Yes, if you go to my Facebook, I'll make sure to put up a link to her website tonight. Or if you go to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour and then type in Helane Lipson, on the YouTube video, her website link is right there too. So you can always look that up in YouTube, and it's right there.
Okay, I'll try.
And also remembering too that when you mention that you were sponsored by the show, she'll give you the discount for the show too. Absolutely. So thank you again for calling. And that's Insights by Helane, INSIGHTSBYHELANE.com. Insights by Helane. So thanks again for the call.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Absolutely. All right. Now we have another caller, last caller of the evening from the 720 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
My name is Alex.
Hey, Alex. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you? This is my first time listening to the show. I was turned on to it this evening, and it's been enlightening, to say the least.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I love to hear that. Yeah, we've had a few first-time callers this evening, which is great. We love new callers on the show. What would you like to share with us? What kind of insights from the show were you finding that were very enlightening?
I did. I actually have 4 points. Hopefully I have time to touch on them. I just listening to you and the readings that you had. I mentioned a couple parts. Is that you had said that you had a lot of times where you were thinking of wanting to help other people, you got this need to like you felt you need to be helping people. And I had always thought to myself that a lot of times that's your subconscious telling you that you need to help yourself. Because while it's really good to be helping so many people, but a lot of times once you can take care of yourself and help yourself, those people tend to come to you because they can sense that feeling inside you that, you know, you're full and complete within your own self. And it goes the same for loving yourself as well, which goes into my next point. You had talked a lot about the resonance, and the resonance, to me, that hit me a lot, this resonance within yourself, that people connect to you through that resonance. And I'd always learned through work and through friends that a lot of what you do on the inside is perceived so easily by others on the outside. And the example I was always told was, when you're talking to someone on the phone, you can tell when someone's smiling as opposed to when someone isn't smiling, and without even seeing them. So that same goes for that perception that people can see that inside you. So when you clear out that clutter in you, and like you were saying, that furniture, preparing for new furniture to come in, people can tell that you're going through this transformation, and you start seeing them either latch on to you to want to be a part of this new person that you're becoming, or, you know, flake off of you, much the same as a cocoon would come off of someone turning into a butterfly, which I can tell, I can see with you. It seems like you're really going through a great transformation. I just was able to tell through just the 45 minutes I've heard from you. And it seems like everyone's been talking about this love bug thing. And everyone calls me a love bug too. And I always was like, thank you. But it is such a fun term. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about, I don't know how much time I have, but
we still got some time.
Okay. You had said how to clear out and feel like you're not a disappointment. And I've struggled with that a lot, and I know a lot of people have struggled with that. And I think the first thing that needs to be done is to find within yourself that knowledge that you aren't a disappointment. Because at the end of the day, you know, you're answering to yourself and your inner self and your higher self, and it's not others that you're answering to. So if you can find that inside you to say that you are successful and that you are happy doing the things you're doing, that it really, other people will start seeing that into you. Because a lot of times when people feel that you're a disappointment, or they see, he seems down all the time, it's because you think you are a disappointment. And so it all starts with this inner understanding of that you're better than what you're currently perceiving yourself to be. You're the greatest confidence booster that you have. And, you know, people can give you compliments all day, but if you don't listen to them, or if you don't understand them or intake them, they go on deaf ears. But a lot of times, too, that's where all your growth comes from as well, is that understanding that you are successful, because it's through those disappointments and those failures that you see that those are the perfect times for you to grow and realize, maybe I messed up here, I failed here, this relationship didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but what can I learn from it, and what can I get better from it, and what were the good parts in it? And once you start seeing that and wrapping your mind and your soul around it, you start seeing that your life, most everyone's life is really good. You're alive. You have this vibrant soul that's vibrating much higher than most people, and it's just, I don't know, it's such a grand feeling to have.
Well, Alex, everything you said tonight's beautiful. It resonates very greatly, and that is the key. Everything you said goes back to one point, and it's what we have inside coming to the outside. That includes our thoughts, it includes our beliefs, it includes every aspect of ourselves. And exactly. Something that you said that's very profound is how other people can see easily what we have inside of us, and that's something that I've never really thought. I was told by my friend George, who was here, a big part of the Evolution Enlightenment Hour since it started, and he said something about that too. You lead by example. That when you love others, when you do things that are positive, people see that, they see it, it resonates with them, and they fill their lives with it. And that's absolutely, absolutely true. I know that I said we had a few minutes left, but I always let it run a little extra long, just in case we get caught in a conversation such as this that has a very big impact for other people to help themselves go through. Now, in my own life, I guess the feeling of disappointment never came from me feeling as if I was a disappointment, like I was a bad person, but it was that I couldn't keep up to the expectations of others. And going through this work, dealing with the amount of people that I've dealt with in my life for the last 3.5 years, a lot of people look at me in a certain way. They say, well, you do channeling, you do spiritual work, you must be perfect. And that's a hard weight to carry for a lot of people. And for me, I always try to be honest with everyone and tell them how I'm feeling in the moment, how I've been, my things in the past that have came through that were very difficult to deal with, as an inspiration for them to know that they can go through that and that everything will be okay on the other end, because most of those negative things are just that. They're experiences for us to have because we brought them to ourselves to overcome them so that we can gain those different characteristics of strength, of characteristics of ability to love others in a different way than we used to before the situation. So it really is, if we can stop seeing things in a negative light and see them in a positive, then none of us are really failures in that way.
I have a question for you real quick, too. You just
Absolutely.
said that you it wasn't as much as you disappointed in yourself that you you were not meeting other people's expectations. Now, is that something where you weren't confident enough in meeting their expectations, or you weren't confident enough in creating your own expectations that perhaps a lot of times people seem to think that they're supposed to meet the demands of others, when in reality the demands that they're supposed to meet are these demands of yourself, and how to get those first. Because a lot of times if you can meet the demands of yourself, which should be very simple demands, you don't need to worry about other people's expectations, because they'll start dropping those expectations, because when you succeed and you exceed your expectations, people can see that, and it resonates with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think for myself, it was a little bit of both. I expected myself to be able to live to others' expectations, so it was a little bit
That's
both.
the worst feeling in the world.
And that is. It's very difficult to deal with that, but I work through that every day. Last 6 months, I just let go of so much of that. The energies and the way that they are, the interaction in my own self, and the relationships that I've went through in this last 6 months, the good ones and the bad ones, have taught me more about myself and has helped me release a lot of that. I guess for my own self and the way that I perceive, I should be able to help everyone. And there are a lot of people who were at one point very important in my life, and I wanted to make sure that I could help them through things. And I know I've been taught, and just by intuitively knowing, it's not my responsibility to help anyone unless they want that and I can assist them, but it all has to come from them. The same thing when I was in my depressed, disconnected state. It was the same way. And I work through that, and it's something that I deal with and something I let go of very often. And that is a good point, too, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because it's very important for all of us to see ourselves as we truly are, and we all are perfect. And I appreciate Alex to the call for the evening.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Very great that you called in. I appreciate the call, and we'll be here next week. I don't know if you're someone who's always interested in channeling or anything like that, but next week we'll have healing. All right, beautiful. Well, thanks for the call, Alex, again. I appreciate it, and we'll see you around next week.
Have a good evening.
All right, you too. Thank you, bud. All right, next week we are going to have the Treb Channeling special. It's supposed to be on the first Wednesday of every month, and the third Wednesday of every month we always have a guest in. There will be slight changes as the network is beginning to build. I will be pulling in other people who are hosting their own shows in as guests as well, so they can share with the Enlightenment Evolution Hour and share with other people what their shows are going to be about, and let that resonate with you guys and see if that's something that you're interested in. Every person has a perspective that is brilliant. Every person has information that is useful and helpful and important, just as important. A channeler's work is just as important as astrologers. Helane Lipson, I call her a channeler too, ephemeris channeler. That's the book that she uses to connect to her astrology information, and she does channel it. The energy comes through her. It's not just a knowing of the symbols that are in that book and numbers. It's an intuitive understanding as well. So she really is channeling that. There are so many avenues of spiritual growth, of evolution, of enlightenment, and that's why we're here at the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, to help assist all of you who need that reflection back on yourself and who wish to put in information so others can reflect back on, so that the collective consciousness can be raised. That is the mission statement of the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. So be ready, everybody. The network is going. We will be starting it soon. Daniel Scranton will be here on Mondays, and I believe that Thursdays is when Philip Malako will be on, but we'll have both of these guys on well before they kick off their thing. Besides Daniel, he's starting next Monday. We'll have Philip on the show to chat with us a little bit about what his show will be in the next few weeks, and we will definitely have at least 6 of the 7 days filled, so that every day of the week you can come on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. You can hear the networking that's going on with all these wonderful people who are able to present information to you and let you reflect it back on them. That's what this is all about, guys. I love you guys. Understand that this show is done. We broadcast this for free to the public out of our own pockets. And if any of you feel like donating is something that resonates with you, you can always donate on trebchanneling.com. That's TREBCHANNELING.com. Go to the donate key, donate through PayPal or credit card there. Or if you have a PayPal account and want to send a donation, you can always go to trebchanneling.com, donate there. I love you guys so very much. Thank you for hanging in there with me on my first solo show for a long time. I'm glad that I can keep you in the loop, keep your information coming, and keep the reflections coming backward and forward to both of so that all of us grow together. This is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier, and I love you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Remember, every Wednesday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, that's 6 o'clock Pacific. We'll see you then.